The night was quiet, but inside the small apartment, screams were muffled behind walls no one cared to question. A child, no older than 9, watched through a crack in the door as her mother was dragged away. Again, she didn't speak. She couldn't. Kella, Bob here, had taken her voice long ago. This is the story of Lena, one of the many whose voices exist only in the shadows. In another city, deep beneath a wealthy neighborhood, construction workers unearthed a hidden basement. What they found shocked them: scraps of clothing, rusty chains, carvings on the walls. He ended up uncovering a forgotten asylum buried under years of dust and denial. And as we listen, we realize that these voices, though silenced, are not broken. Sometimes they're the shadows themselves, the power structures that thrive in secrecy, the voices that dare to speak out, and the truth that binds us all. Doors creaked open on their own. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls, and she could have sworn she saw glimpses of shadowy figures at the edge of her vision. Terrified, she retreated into herself, clinging to the hope that somehow she would be spared. But as the nights grew darker and the shadows deeper, Lena realized that the nightmare her mother had described wasn't over. It was just beginning. They're resilient, they're powerful, they're a testament to the human spirit's refusal to be extinguished. Her father, a shell of a man, spoke in hushed tones of a place where shadows danced and nightmares took shape. Then he, too, was taken. One day, Lena found a hidden box filled with her mother's belongings and a journal. With shaky hands, she opened it. The neat script detailed a world turned upside down, of whispered fears and a looming darkness that threatened to consume everything. Then the entries became frantic, the words a jumbled mess, as if written in a desperate race against time. Finally, there was only a single sentence scrawled across the last page: "They're coming for me." Then silence. The journal stopped abruptly, leaving Lena with more questions than answers, and a premonition that her mother's story was far from over. What he recorded, scribbled notes, drawings, a name repeated hundreds of times, revealed a truth that had been hidden for decades. The patients weren't insane. They were witnesses to something that was never meant to be known. What I've learned is that these voices, these stories, they're not just about the past. They're about a system that seeks to control, to erase, and to silence. Perhaps you sense their pain, their terror, their desperation to be heard. Can you feel their despair? Do their stories stir something within you? If you can relate, know that you're not alone. There are many of us who listen, who seek to understand, and who fight to ensure that their voices are not silenced, but amplified. To protect its secrets, it labels the insane, buries evidence, and writes alternative histories. But the truth has a way of seeping through the cracks, doesn't it? Authorities called it a forgotten shelter. Survivors called it something else, a place of silence, secrets, and screams. Javed was a journalist who thought he was chasing a conspiracy. In the rural village of Timba, elders speak of a forest no one enters after dark. They tell stories of women who vanished, children who returned broken, and sounds at night that don't belong to any living creature. Lives erased, events buried, and voices that were never meant to reach us. But they did, through journals, secret recordings, coded letters, and terrified whispers passed from one survivor to another. Most people dismiss it as folklore, but there are voices on old tape recorders, faint, desperate, real. These aren't ghost stories, they're fragments of suppressed truths. I've spent years chasing these whispers, piecing together fragmented memories and long-buried documents. We find it in the faded ink of a diary, the tremor of a survivor's voice, the haunting echoes in an abandoned asylum. When we talk about the things that go bump in the night, we often forget that the scariest things aren't always what lurk in the darkness. The woman in the opening, Lena, her story is like so many others. Her mother was taken, never to return. In the following days, Lena noticed strange occurrences around her house. This is Voices in the Shadows. What they saw will haunt you. Are you listening? Do you feel a presence now?